What's up, guys? Today is Tuesday, the 8th, and what does that mean exactly? Well, that means today is Safe Harbor Deadline Day, and maybe Trump has a possible way to victory still? Well, let's find out. So today marks the so-called Safe Harbor deadline. Federal law requires that Congress recognize the slates of electors chosen by states that have resolved election disputes by the state. Notice how it says resolved election disputes by today, right? So there's still some open questions, particularly in Pennsylvania, that haven't been resolved yet. Now, Trump has had a lot of different lawsuits that haven't really gone anywhere, and he's had a couple that have gotten merit to it, but were struck down for one reason or another. And Sidney Powell also has had lawsuits that have been struck down. Now, she's not actually working for Trump, she's just kind of working in tandem with Trump, um, and she's just an ally. But even her lawsuits have been struck down. So pretty much today's the deadline for all of the states to resolve the issues that they have through their legal processes, right? Now, one interesting thing was that Mike Kelly, Representative Mike Kelly, had an election challenge that the U.S. Supreme Court Justice Alito actually moved the date on. So originally, down here it says Alito, who was appointed by George Bush, had previously ordered that the state's lawyers respond to Kelly's suit by December 9th, which was a day after the safe harbor date, which would mean that Congress can't challenge any electors already named in accordance with the state law. The law frees up states from challenges as long as it settles the legal issues and certifies results prior to the Electoral College meeting, right? So Alito moved Kelly's case up 24 hours and wants state officials to respond by 9 a.m. on Tuesday, right? The reporter pointed out that the updated hearing on December 8th would give the court a few hours to act on the information received. So pretty much, seems like the Supreme Court is really taking this seriously, considering the fact that he moved the date up to give the court time to figure out, um, what to do with the the possible questions still hanging in the air if they can't give a satisfactory answer as to what why Pennsylvania seemed to change their law unconstitutionally. So, from what I remember, Pennsylvania is the state that changed their mail-in voting uh, in their process in their constitution, and the way it's supposed to work is when you make a change to the Constitution, then it goes to the election and citizens vote on it on whether or not they want it or not. And then if it passes, then it goes to the next election and it's applicable to the next election. They just ignored all of that and said it's applicable now. That's wrong. You can't do that. So I believe the challenge is that it's unconstitutional. Let's see. Uh, wants the courts to rule more than Kelly wants the courts to rule that more than 2.5 mail-in ballots are tossed, which would all but secure the victory for President Trump in the Keystone State because a vote would be taken in the state's Republican-controlled legislature. Now, whether or not this uh, goes anywhere, who knows? Because they have until the end of the day, and if they can't, and they've known about this particular lawsuit for what now? A week at least. So they've had time to mount a defense for it. So they could potentially come out with a defense for it. Um, and by the end of today, right? But that's Pennsylvania, right? That's the one lawsuit that's been active for a couple days at least. Now here's the interesting thing. Over here, well, before we get into that, real quick, if you guys like my videos, go ahead and like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and please share my videos so that way you and me can grow this channel together. All right, so back over to here. Uh, Paxton from Texas sues battleground states for unconstitutional changes to 2020 election laws. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton today filed a lawsuit against four states, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, in the United States Supreme Court. The four states exploited COVID-19 pandemic to justify ignoring federal and state election laws and unlawfully enacting last-minute changes, thus skewing the results of the 2020 general election. The battleground states flooded their people with unlawful ballot applications and ballots while ignoring statutory requirements as to how they were received, evaluated, and counted. So, wow. So now there's another lawsuit that was filed, I believe, just today, and it's including four states. Pennsylvania's in it, and I believe that whatever they come up with to fight the other lawsuit that was pending that Alito moved up, the Kelly lawsuit, that they could probably use whatever that argument was to fight this one as well. But this is also including Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin, which I don't believe have any uh, lawsuits pending like what is pending in Pennsylvania, meaning that he dropped this today, which means I very much doubt that they have enough time today to go through these lawsuits and figure out how to dispel the lawsuit, which means that by the end of today, there might be open lawsuits and unresolved issues in Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and maybe even Pennsylvania. We don't know about them yet. So that means that four swing states might not be able to certify today, and might not qualify for the safe harbor. Well, that's interesting, I'd say. So, quote, trust in the integrity of our election process is sacrosanct and binds our citizenry and the states in this union together. Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin destroyed that trust and compromised the security and integrity of the 2020 election. The states violated statutes enacted by their duly elected legislatures, thereby violating the Constitution. By ignoring both state and federal law, these states have not only tainted the integrity of their citizens' vote, but of Texas and every other state that held lawful elections. Their failure to abide by the rule of law casts a dark shadow of doubt over the outcome of the entire election. We now ask that Supreme Court step in to correct this egregious error. Wow. Yeah, I have to agree. Um, though I don't agree that every other state had lawful elections because I'm willing to bet that other states had issues, but because they're not swing states, they're not being looked at. Um, because I'm fairly sure that there's other types of impropriety and fraud in other states, but with that being said, these states are the ones that are very hotly contested because we have evidence that things were not correct. I mean, in Georgia, we've got that video surveillance and not satisfactory answers as to why what's happening is happening in that video. Then you've got hundreds of people coming forward saying, "Hey, I saw this weird crap." You've got I think one driver, one big rig driver that said that he drove thousands of ballots from one state to another state, which doesn't make sense. So there's a lot of questions. So I think filing this today was very smart because it gives them almost no time to to dispel the 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 lawsuits to get them thrown out or whatever. Um, so let's continue reading. Elections for federal office must comport with federal constitutional standards. For presidential elections, each state must appoint its electors to the Electoral College in a manner that complies with the Constitution. The Electors Clause requirement that only state legislatures may set the rules governing the appointment of electors and elections and cannot be delegated to local officials. The majority of the rush decisions made by local officials were not approved by the state legislatures, thereby circumventing the Constitution. So, yeah, so essentially what this is saying that the local officials were the ones that made these decisions. And they were not approved by the state legislatures, who are the ones that have the power to make these decisions. And so they completely circumvented everything, all the procedural uh, statutes when it comes to implementing new stuff for elections. Wow. And in Pennsylvania, they were talking about that it had been changed, I think, over a year ago, and nobody really knew that they had done it like that. So everybody thought that it was constitutional until we had the election, and then they looked into it and they went, "Wait a second, this was done incorrectly. Why is this still standing?" And like I and one of the judges that originally ruled on this one, the Pennsylvania one, that I believe that they said that it had merit, um, but that they were dismissing it because of time issues. Like they didn't file it in time, so that they can't. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of like a BS answer for dismissing a lawsuit for something that was unconstitutional, the process. But we'll have to see what happens with the Pennsylvania one, but especially the AG Paxton one, because this one includes 4 states, not just Pennsylvania. So I'm very eager to see what happens by the end of today with these lawsuits. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to end it here. And I hope you guys like and subscribe and share this video and take a look at some of this yourself. I mean, keep watching the news and let's see what happens. Alrighty, guys, have a good one. See you tomorrow.